the health ranger, Mike Adams, big researcher in all these areas, is going to be our guest this hour into the next. If you'd like to stay with us, we're going to be recapping and giving you the latest as the news continues to unfold. I also later want to go over an article, 27 signs that the nuclear crisis in Japan is much worse than either the mainstream media or the Japanese government have been telling us. The big article that we need to get out to everybody, alert, Fukushima cover-up, close to 40 years of spent nuclear fuel rods blown sky high. They've been storing over 600,000 of them on top of the facilities. 4 of them have blown up, ejecting them into the air. And Japan is not giving out radiation readings now in those 2 states. Bad sign. Greg Palast agreed. That's a cover-up going on. More fires, more smoke at the plant, boiling off radiation. Fukushima, Kyoto News reports number 3 reactor vent smoke. But they are also reporting that some of the other reactors have had breached internal seal cores. This place is a giant nuclear waste dump. That's on top of it all. Newly released images show devastated nuclear reactors. Infowars.com. Japan scrambles to pull nuclear plant back from the brink. Fukushima nuke plant station worsened considerably. Think tank reports the nuke station 1 has worsened considerably. The Institute for Science and International Security said in a statement. Also, there's more problems at some of the other plants there. There's 6 total, including some that have already been turned off, but they're still catching on fire. This stuff's very flammable. If you put these rods out in the open, they catch on fire. Continuing, the Surgeon General said, as a precaution, buy potassium iodine. Then other government agencies said, don't do it. We've confirmed from listeners with names and dates that FEMA and the CDC have been ordering clinics, even though it's over the counter, to not prescribe it to people that ask for it on the West Coast. Continuing, Japan crisis spurs iodine demand in U.S. sells out everywhere. Panic buying stocks of potassium iodate exhausted in the United States. Military rescuers brace for Japan radiation in U.S. Aid flights coming back. I mean, 1 particle of uranium or plutonium, it'll kill you. And you won't have to wait a few years for it to happen. It's that slow kill they can cover up, but the fast death, Palast predicts 100,000 are going to die in the next few months from what's happened in Japan alone. Got to pray for those folks. Again, other mainline reports, AP reporting that the radiation is going out to sea now. It's been going from northeast on Friday, going Saturday and Sunday and Monday straight east towards the United States. Then Tuesday turning south and giving Tokyo a dose. People now fleeing that with higher and higher levels being registered. Now it's moved back up to going straight due east towards our west coast. So we've got that information. The aircraft carriers raced 200 miles away when Fukushima 3 blew up Monday and high radiation levels were picked up. They reported ships were radiated, some of them. That's Associated Press as well. Reuters report U.S. forces on the island of Japan are kept 50 miles away from Japan nuke plant as if the wind doesn't carry it further. Japan's emperor in historic speech says never give up hope. Japan's beloved emperor, the son of the guy that attacked us in World War II, Emperor dramatically took to the national TV airways Wednesday and buoyed the spirits of his disaster-stricken citizens and extraordinarily addressed before a nation grappling with the aftermath of an epic earthquake and a devastating tsunami and growing fears of nuclear catastrophe. I truly hope, quote, I truly hope the victims of the disaster never give up hope, take care of themselves, and live strong for tomorrow, said the dignified and understated emperor, a calm and poignant oration delivered from the imperial palace. Also, I want citizens of Japan, he said, to remember everyone who's been affected by the devastation, not only today, but for a long time afterwards, and help with the recovery. The 77-year-old ceremonial but deeply revered chief of state underlined Prime Minister Kan's earlier assertion that Japan was going through its worst crisis since World War II when they got A-bombs dropped on them at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Remember, the Atomic Energy Agency estimates that Chernobyl, much smaller than this disaster now, that's undoubted, only for 10 days had steam coming out. And that radiated over a 1,000-mile swath, 150,000 square miles, but 1,000 miles north, got heavy radiation. There's estimated 1 million deaths from complications associated with that event. Now, we've got 4 reactors on fire, exploding, and you better believe there's a big cover-up going on, ladies and gentlemen. So that's just some of what we're dealing with, but you've got to admire the stoic, genteel calm of the Japanese people. There's not looting. Crime's actually gone down statistically. The people are orderly. This would have been a lot worse if they weren't. but still they don't need to be too orderly when this is done and getting justice. I'd like to see the owners of Tokyo Electric Power and the CEOs that built it on a fault line and stored the rods on top of the reactors. I'd like to see them in there, not the police, not the military, not the plant workers in there on a suicide mission. Oh, but they're elitists, so it's evil to talk bad about them. Now, joining us is Mike Adams. And Mike Adams, of course, is the health ranger, heads up Natural News, naturalnews.com. He really needs no introduction, but he's been warning about these type of situations. He happened to be in Austin, and we're honored to have him in here riding shotgun with us. We're going to talk for about 15 minutes, and I promise go directly to your calls at 1-800-259-9231. Mike Adams, good to have you here. What do you make of all this?
Well, it's good to be here, Alex. A great summary of the situation. This is the cover-up that they can't cover up. You know, when radiation, when there's a meltdown, when there's fissionable material being released into the atmosphere, they can't cover this up. They can cover up vaccines for a while. They can cover up GMOs for a while, fluoride in the water for decades, but not this. And so this is a turning point, not just for the future of nuclear power, but also for people who have been, let's say, listening to you for year after year and wondering, is Alex really right? Is he overstating it, or is he on target? Well, this morning we posted on Facebook, on our own Facebook page, that we're going to be on your show here. And the first comment from a person was, Alex Jones was right. You know, and I know you're not ego-driven. It doesn't matter to you to hear that. But for those listening, it's an important point that when we've been warning, you and I both have been warning for a long time, and you for many more years than I, about preparedness, about the dangers in the world, about the cover-ups, about governments not telling people the truth.
Because when we let them get away with cover-ups, they get more and more arrogant, more and more crazy themselves. There's no governor. You're saying this is a major game changer. Sorry.
It is a game changer, because now if the lies about the safety of nuclear power can be so devastating and so catastrophic to the people of Japan and perhaps even to the people of North America, it raises the question, you know, what else have we been lied about? What else has been done in the name of so-called scientific thinking? For example, GMOs are now being pushed under science, and anyone who questions them is called unscientific. You know, what else?
When the science actually shows they're deadly.
Well, it does, but they're trying to hide behind that label, right? And nuclear power was given to us as a progression of civilization. This was supposed to be clean energy, virtually limitless energy.
Folks think it's trendy to just mindlessly support it.
Well, exactly. And there are a lot of things like that that are happening in our world today. You've talked about here, fluoride in the water, for example. The pharmaceutical medication.
Genetic engineering.
Absolutely. The list just goes on and on.
The Hadron Superconducting Supercollider. A lot of physicists are on record saying it could destroy the planet. These are guys with PhDs, and then the people at Hadron say, well, that's a low probability. They're going to do thousands of tests.
Well, exactly. And what you get to behind all this is the arrogance of the scientists, combined with the corruption of the politicians, and as you call them, the global elite.
They're believing their own lies.
They do believe them, and they're willing to risk the lives of the public in order to pursue their own agenda. When they built these power plants, remember those GE engineers who quit because they said this isn't a safe design. It's not safe. No one listened to them. That was back in the 70s. And now, decades later, we're starting to look at a time when we're going to have to pay a price.
And an engineer lost their job. They got blackballed when they quit. They didn't just do this, just like the genetic engineer guys that were making $1 million a year, and they come out and say, this potato sterilizes you. We can't put this on the market. They're like, you're fired.
Well, that's right. Time and time again, those who raise the warnings are either ridiculed by the mainstream media, if they're folks like you.
Well, we said this was a meltdown Friday.
Yeah, you were ahead of this, way ahead of us doing it. In fact, I was looking at your news and saying, wow, you guys have an incredible news system going on here, by the way. Paul Watson just does incredible work. But you were on top of this story before the mainstream media was really on board with it, and they're still not on board with the truth of what's happening. The truth is...
Well, no, they're on board with a big cover-up.
Well, right. Let me look at what they're talking about today. That's not what people need to know. What do people need to know today in America? They need to know to get prepared. They need to know natural sources of iodine, which you've talked about here. But beyond that, they need to know that their government is not telling them the truth on so many topics that nuclear energy is just the tip of the iceberg here. There's so much more coming down the road. Fiat currency, the Federal Reserve, the global debt.
Biometrics. They now admit 10 times the radiation they'd said in secret tests at the airports with the scanners. Massive cancer increase. They just think they can wave baloney wands and change the laws of physics.
Well, that's exactly what they're trying to do. And now they're fighting the laws of physics, and the laws of physics are winning in Tokyo. Sadly, the laws of physics and fission... Reality, exactly. Reality is something... You can't avoid the laws of economics, for example. You can't run the world on a global...
And they'll try to play it down when Japanese start dying and when radiation hits the U.S., but still, the reality's there.
It's cause and effect, Alex. And we have set into motion on this planet through the corruption, through the governments that don't tell us the truth, through the science that has been distorted for these corporate agendas. We've set into motion a chain of events that's now coming back to haunt us.
And so many Americans, it's like real popular now to make jokes. I hear it all over radio about the Japanese. These are little kids dying, folks. People being ready, men fighting for everybody else's safety, knowing they're dying. They're on record saying we're ready to die, and people are making jokes. Folks, do you think you're safe, those of you out there making jokes, when we're such a decadent society that people don't care? Who's going to save your butt? Who's going to step up for you?
You know, that's sick. That's sick. I didn't know people were out there making jokes about this, but it's absolutely sick. Another thing that's sick...
Well, stay there. Yeah, we got to go to break. The guy that does the Aflac duck just lost his job, making jokes. He said, yeah, the Japanese are so advanced, they have the ocean come to them, and ha, ha, ha. And it's not funny. It's bad luck, too, folks, making fun of people that are in trouble. Okay, it's bad luck. We'll be right back. Stay with us.